Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness unto light, lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Namaste and good morning, everybody. So we have one more session of Q&A discussion. We started this several years ago when we had all these questions which were coming in over the internet, and it's impossible really to write answers to so many people. And even if you do write, it just starts a conversation, doesn't it? Really? And then those questions and answers remain limited to that person. So somebody gave me this idea. Actually, it was a monk in Belur Math who gave me this idea of having a series of open Q&A. So that's how it started, and it's become very popular over the years. So we have literally thousands and thousands of emails coming in from all over the world, and we have a brave team of volunteers who sift through all of that and select a few questions every month. But these questions' advantage is it's representative of many more questions, and these questions and answers, they remain online thanks to this new technology. On YouTube it's there, so you can refer to it again and again, and other people also get the benefit of it. I often say that you don't really have to wait for your question to be, when is it going to get to my question? And then that way we miss all the other questions and all the other answers. Often, more than the person who asked the question, sometimes it might strike us, this is what I wanted to know, or this is what I wanted to hear. So it's good to pay attention to all the questions and the discussions of all these questions and answers.
The first question is from Abhishek Chattopadhyay. Swamiji, Shri Ramakrishna has said that only God is your own, nobody else is your own. Sri Ma has said everybody is your own. Please resolve the contradiction.
And very nicely put. It's a bit too loud, I think. You can reduce it a little bit. Very nicely put. Sri Ramakrishna has definitely said that. Nobody else is your own, only God is your own. And the Holy Mother has definitely said, nobody is an other to you, the whole world is your own. Nobody is other, the whole world is your own. Learn to make the whole world your own. How do you reconcile? The apparent contradiction, but it's not really a contradiction. First of all, take what Sri Ramakrishna said. God only is your own. In Vedanta we say that there is no relationship between the eternal and the non-eternal. You, the immortal soul, you are eternal, you are immortal. And these bodies, these things in this world, events, persons, all of these are transitory and temporary. Nothing here will last, nobody here will last. Death rules everybody. Vivekananda's very poignant words, emperors die and paupers die. The rich die and the poor die, the learned die and the ignorant die, saints die and sinners die, death comes for all. So everything is temporary here. Time rules everything is transient in this world. And we, the immortal soul, we do not have any relationship. Only we apparently seem to have relationships. We seem to have a life full of relationships. We have relationships with family, in work, in community. We have relationships with people in our nation, around the world. So we have relationships with this body. I am this identity with this body. But all of this too shall pass. All of it will pass away. Therefore, the relationship which we have set up, one must be careful about that. There's a strictly temporary, and these are not ultimately lasting or real, these relationships, none of them. The only relationship which is eternal is your relationship with God. The relationship between the eternal and the eternal is possible. The eternal soul's eternal relationship with the eternal God, it's possible. That's our only relationship. If you put this in terms of Vedanta, our real nature as limitless awareness, consciousness, in which we are experiencing a world of continuous change, bodies which are changing continuously, mind which changes continuously, and a world of apparent relationships which are always turbulent, being established, being snapped. So that consciousness is eternal. The consciousness in which we are experiencing everything. Our real nature is eternal. And that's always with us. That's our reality. And that can never be changed. It does not require any effort to change it. It does not require, and what I meant was, no effort can change it. Nothing can change this one limitless existence, consciousness, bliss. Call it Atman, call it Brahman, whatever it is. So our, put it in devotional language, only thing that we truly have ever is God. And none else is our own because of this nature of continuous change. Now, this God is in everybody. This God is in fact, Vedanta would say, this God, this existence, consciousness, bliss, this Satchidananda, is in everybody, is in every entity, in fact has become or appears as everybody and as every entity in the world. So, in that sense, no one is another to you. Our own innermost reality is also the reality of all those that we see here and everything and everybody that we experience here. The God whom we revere, love, who is our closest, is also in each person, in each being, including not only all human beings, but all all living beings and all non-living things. Every entity in this world is an appearance of the same divinity. And therefore, all is ours. There is no one or anything that is other. In Vedantic terms, this one limitless awareness which we are is also all of this. Notice the word limitless. What is limitless really? What's a limit? A limit is when an entity encounters something other than itself. A limit. So, the limit of my body is this. Just beyond my fingernails, it's not the body. It's something else. It's other than the body. The limit of this Vedanta center is at the doorstep. Beyond it is the pavement. That's not the Vedanta society anymore. That's the limit. Where something ends and something else begins. But what does limitless mean? Limitless means where that thing has no end at all. There is nothing else that begins after it. So, if God is limitless, then there is nothing other than God, nobody other than God, nowhere other than God, no time, no when other than God. So there is no time beyond God, no space beyond God, and no object, person, thing, action beyond God. That's what limitless means. In terms of, again, Vedantic perspective. Limitless pure consciousness, limitless consciousness means whatever we seem to be aware of, whatever is presented to consciousness in consciousness does not constitute a second reality apart from consciousness. Not only the objects are not a limit to consciousness, even the time and the space are imagined in consciousness, are appearing in consciousness. Since all time appears in consciousness, consciousness is not, when I say consciousness, I mean Chit or Chaitanya. I don't mean our empirical consciousness which we are talking, which is the common meaning of the word consciousness in the English dictionary. I mean in the sense of pure consciousness. Since time is experienced within consciousness, Therefore, consciousness is not within time. Consciousness is eternal with respect to time. Technically, one should say consciousness transcends time. But a more easy way of understanding it is, we would say consciousness is eternal. There is no time when consciousness is not. Since space is experienced within consciousness, consciousness is all-pervading. Strictly speaking, consciousness transcends space, but we can put it this way, that there is no space where consciousness is not. The word itself can create problems. What do you mean there is no space where consciousness is not? Atman is not, or Brahman is not. No time, no space, no object limits consciousness, and therefore it is one reality. That's our innermost reality. That's the reality of everything that we see. Therefore, there is nothing else that is our own except that. And there is nobody else here who is other than that. That explains the love of a saint, of an enlightened person for everybody. Don't be fooled. You think that often we when we meet highly advanced spiritual people, saints, sages, spiritual practitioners, you feel the love. You feel a kind of pure love for you, a kind of oneness with you. Like, this person understands me and is on my side. Truly, that person understands you and is on your side, but you don't know how. The secret is this. The enlightened one doesn't love you. The spiritual person doesn't love you really. Or rather, let's put it this way, the spiritual person really loves you, really loves it, doesn't really love you, loves the real you. Let's put it this way. When you feel that the saint or the enlightened person loves me so much, and you do feel, if you're lucky enough to meet such persons, you do feel a love which cannot be forgotten. Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda used to say about Sri Ramakrishna, to us he was love personified. Long before avatara, incarnation, samadhi, all the teachings of Vedanta, bhakti and all of that, long before that, he bound us with his love. He would define Sri Ramakrishna as, he would spell it out, L-O-V-E, love. But Sri Ramakrishna also gave him the secret of that. He said, do you think I love you as a person? He said, I see Narayana in you. That's why I love you so much. I see the Lord in you. The day I do not see Narayana in you, I will not even be able to look at your face, you rascal, he said. So the spiritual person, the sage, the saint, sees God in all of us. One might think, do they imagine it? Seems like some kind of imagination. No, for us it might be. For them it's a fact. And they are right. They are right. We really do not know ourselves, we really do not know others. As long as we think I am a body, others are also bodies for us. As long as we think we are persons, as most of us do, we think of ourselves as persons. Others are also persons to us. You'll say, what else are they if not person? Oh, they are much more than persons. They are God himself, herself, who is appearing in all these forms. Herself, because for Sri Ramakrishna, God was she. It's a divine mother appearing in all these forms. So no one is another. Of course, when she said it, when Ma Sharda said it, her perspective was unique. Same thing, but another variation of that. For her, when she looked upon the rest of us, for her, we were all her children. Everybody in this universe. One of the monks asked her, "Mother, are you the mother of all? Just everybody in this universe?" She said, "Yes." Even them, the plants and the animals and the birds and the insects, is them too. So, she's the mother of all. From her perspective, therefore, nobody is other than you. But also for us, for all of us also. Let me compact that into a sutra, the basic, from a Vedantic perspective. You are pure consciousness and nothing other than pure consciousness. In that sense, only God is your own. No one else, nothing else. Everything else is an appearance to that pure consciousness. And everybody else, whatever you see, is that pure consciousness. And therefore, everybody is your own. Either you are all of this or none of this. This is a Vedantic way of looking at it. What do? we say that our usual perspective is, I am this much. This whole universe appears. The whole universe, along with that body and that mind, is presented to you, the consciousness. So either you are all of it or none of it. To you, the consciousness, to me, the consciousness, the same consciousness actually, this whole universe, along with this body and mind, are presented. Presented means they appear, are experienced. Either I am all of it or none of it. But what do we usually do? We make a border. I am this, up to the limits of this body, I am. The rest of it is not me. And then samsara starts. Because I, the limitless consciousness, having forgotten my nature as limitless consciousness, now identify as this body and mind, and now start interacting with all the rest of the world, people and things and places and actions. But then from an enlightened one's perspective, all of this is I. Or none of this is I. It's all an appearance. For the one who is devotional by nature, then all of this is the divinity, is one divinity. And so my worship goes out to that one divinity. I have only one thing in this world. Only one thing is mine in this world. One reality. That's that divinity, that God. But that God is also I see in everybody. Therefore, all are also mine. Notice, in the sages, in the saints' love, nobody is excluded. We all feel He loves us only, intensely. Nobody loves me like Him. And Sri Ramakrishna's disciples used to say, I think everyone felt that he loved that person the most. And in one sense it's true, because he saw God in that person. Of course he loved God the most. He saw God in that person. Not a part of God, not a portion or a reflection of God. God, all of it. But he saw exactly the same thing in everybody else. Imagine the joy of it. Vivekananda said to Ingersoll, the great skeptic, he said, imagine knowing you're one with everybody and you see divinity in everybody, loving everybody and everything as God. Imagine the joy of that. That kind of life. Okay, so it's good, very good that you have seen these two statements. Nobody is your own except God. Correct. From a devotional perspective, from a Vedantic perspective. There is nobody who's another. All are your own. Correct. From a devotional perspective, from a Vedantic perspective. Can we take one more from the internet audience?
Yes, this is from Supasis Guchit. I attended the Dakshinamurti session online, and I have one question. If I'm able to stop all vittis, then reflected consciousness will have nothing to shine upon, so there will be no distraction. In that moment, can I say that I am that reflected consciousness? And from there do I try to expand, although I do not know how. And hopefully by the grace of Lord Shiva, will I realize the pure consciousness in some lifetime.
The last one first. By the grace of Lord Shiva, I will realize pure consciousness in some lifetime. This is that lifetime. This is that. No. I mean it with the grace of the Lord. It is possible, entirely possible in this lifetime. Why not? All lifetimes are meant for that. All of what we have been doing through many lifetimes is meant for that only. This lifetime, yes, here, in this life. Now, what he has said is, if I manage to seize all vrittis, all movements of the mind, all perceptions, and all thoughts, emotions, then consciousness will have nothing to be reflected on, and will I realize myself as the witness consciousness? I think that's what he asked. Is that possible? Yes. This is what you have outlined is the program of yoga, Patanjali yoga. Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is the cessation of the vrittis of the mind, movements of the mind. Why? Tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. Because then the witness consciousness remains in its real nature, in its essential nature. When the mind lake is calmed, no thoughts, no emotions, no memories, no desires, no expectations, no looking back into the past, no projecting into the future, letting go of the present, Then when the mind lake is calm and pure, it has to be pure. Swami Vivekananda said, the water has to be clean. If it is turbid, even if it is calm, it will just be stagnant water. That is tamoguna, tamas. If you calm the mind and it's an impure mind, what will happen is one will either fall asleep or become sluggish or slow, whatever. With the calm and crystal clear water of the lake, you see straight through to the bottom of the lake. Vivekananda's commentary on this Raja Yoga Sutra and Patanjali Yoga Sutra. And the yogi says, yes, when the mind is like that, still, without movement and pure, you will see that you are not the mind. It's a startling discovery. I am literally not the mind, nor is the mind mine. For whatever reason, this wonderful thing called the mind appears. And another thing happens. If I am not the mind, and the mind is not mine, whatever appears and is experienced in and through the mind. What is experienced in and through the mind? Body, personality, world, other people, samsara. The whole thing you can dismiss. I am not the mind is not mine. I am not the body is not mine. I have nothing to do with this world. The world is an appearance in the mind. Mind, along with the world appearance, can be dismissed and dropped. Then you go into samadhi, or the mind plunges into samadhi. You remain as the witness of that samadhi. And therefore, the sutra says, tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. Then the witness consciousness remains in its real nature. That's what's called pure consciousness. Purusha. Sakshi Chaitanya, witness consciousness. So you're right, if you can do that. We can all still the mind for short periods. Few seconds here or there, few minutes, maybe a minute. But then the mind breaks out into waves. Why? Even if we don't want to think, remember, feel, it's because of the impurities of the mind. Shri Ramakrishna gives a very nice example. There's this mongoose which is trying to jump through a hole in the wall to go to the other side. But it's a long bushy tail. And some naughty children of the village, they've tied the brick to the tail. So the moment the mongoose tries to jump, it falls back. It's pulled back by the weight. It's a good example. That's what the yogi experiences. The world is like that brick tied to the mind. You want to rise above it, pull down again. So unless this samadhi is prolonged, it will not lead to enlightenment. And this prolonged samadhi is not possible without purification of mind. What will happen if you do not attain this samadhi? What he's asking, if I can do that, if you don't do that, then the next sutra says, vritti sarupyam itaratra. At other times, if you are unable to merge the mind in samadhi, the mind will keep breaking out into waves, and you, the witness consciousness, not knowing yourself as such, will identify with the waves of the mind. Vritti sarupyam, anger. You will not say, I am the pure light of consciousness illumining the anger in the mind. No, you will say, I am mad at you. Depression. You will not say, oh, I am like the blazing sunlight illumining this little patch of dark cloud in the vast blue sky. No. You will say, I am a dark cloud. So that's what happens. Vritti sarupyam. This is our lived experience. Nothing very esoteric about it. That's what we are going through all the time. So this is yoga. But he said he attended the Dakshinamurti's classes. That is not yoga. That is Vedanta. What Vedanta says, whether the black patch of cloud comes or the white patch of cloud comes or cloudless sky. What is cloudless sky? The mind without any vrittis. What is the white patches of cloud? The mind with sattvic vrittis. What are the dark patches of clouds? Mind with rajasic or tamasic vrittis. But the sun shining in the sky is utterly unaffected by any of these. In fact, it is by the light of the sun that you experience those clouds. White cloud, dark cloud, no cloud. Vedanta wants to point that out. That this tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam, the witness consciousness remains in its real nature. The witness consciousness always remains in its real nature, right now. Whether you know it or do not know it. Whether you accept it or do not accept it, you are that witness consciousness. Tum jano ya na jano, mano ya na mano, tum hi Ram. Whether you know it or you do not know it, whether you accept it or you do not accept it, you are Rama. Only thing is, if you do not accept it, if you do not realize it, if you do not know that to be true, it's fat lot of good it does to us. Still, I will not say that. Even this indirect knowledge, even hearing about it, gives a lot of peace to the mind. It gives you a psychological gap. The mind seems to relax its stranglehold on us and step back a little bit. We see the mind as a thing. Just as you see this thing, you see the mind as a thing. So, Vedanta says, instead of shutting down the vrittis, raise a vritti, a Vedantic vritti, a Dakshinamurti Stotra vritti, which will show you. It's like a mirror. Hold up the mirror to yourself. Mirror shows us the face. This vritti shows us that we are Brahman, we are pure consciousness. That also works. Then the next thing he says, after that will I be able to expand. What he means there is the second step in Vedanta. Because when you do this process, we have this intuitive feeling, yes, I am the witness, but I am the witness of this mind, of this body. And therefore, how many witnesses are there? In every mind and body, separate witness. Is that so? Vedanta says no. Sankhya will say yes. In every mind and body, separate witness. Separate pure consciousness. And each pure consciousness, that's the amazing thing. Each pure consciousness is limitless. It's just very interesting. Limitless, how they explain it is, what's the problem? You have one light which spreads all over, switch on another light that also spreads all over, they don't interfere with each other. So you are light, like light pure consciousness, and there are millions and billions of lights, they're all like pure consciousness, they are pure consciousness, they're all like light, and they can be multiple limitless pure consciousnesses. Vedanta says no, because limit is not defined in that way. Limit is where one thing stops and another thing begins. So if you and I are different pure consciousnesses, suppose, then there's a difference. There is a place where there is something where me, the pure consciousness, stops. Where you, the pure consciousness, begins. There's a definition of freedom. Do you know? You have full freedom to swing your cane, but your freedom ends where my nose begins. So similarly, your pure consciousness stops where me, the pure consciousness, begins. No, that cannot be limitless pure consciousness. This in Vedanta is called Vastu Paricheda, object limitation. Or in another term, technical term in Vedanta is Sajatiya Bheda, difference of entities of the same kind. There are flowers, they are all flowers, but each flower is different, separate. So are you saying consciousnesses are separate? Vedanta will say no. My answer to that will be, not that when you realize yourself as pure consciousness, now you have to expand and be all pure consciousnesses and the entire universe as a dream or an appearance in that pure consciousness. Just recognize yourself as such. Let me give you a little sutra. It will work for people who have immersed themselves in Vedanta. Dream example first, and then apply it to our waking world. The dream example is this. In the dream, I, the dreamer, when I fall asleep, with my dreaming mind, I, the dreamer, the consciousness which dreams, with the dreaming mind, in the dreaming mind appears people, places, objects, happenings. That's the dream, the contents of the dream. Now, here is the subtle point. That consciousness which is dreaming, in that consciousness appears the dreaming mind and also the objects of the dream, the contents of the dream. The ground of the dreaming mind, the person who is, or suppose the person who is in the dream, the ground of the person who is in the dream, and the objects in the dream, the entire dream universe, they are one and the same ground, the dreamer, the one and the same foundation. That dreamer appears as the subject in the dream and entire objective universe in the dream. Now, in this world also, Vedanta says, that consciousness which is the subject of this person, the one consciousness which is the witness of each person inside, is also the ground of the universe experienced by that person. This entire universe, see, this mind, these thoughts, memories, ideas, this is all appearing in me, the consciousness, that witness consciousness which he talked about. But this entire universe experienced by me is also appearing in that one witness consciousness. That's the difficult to swallow that. And this is the meaning of the Vedantic statement, Tat Tvamasi. You are that. What are you? The witness of that body-mind. That's not so difficult to understand. The consciousness which is experiencing the body-mind. What is Tat Brahman? The reality of this universe. What is the reality of that universe? That witness consciousness. The two are based on the same ground. Vivekananda put it this way. One only exists. It appears as nature, soul. Object, subject. I will not explain further. The whole Vedanta has to be explained if I try to explain that. To put it simply, when we wake up, what do we realize? Oh, I was that guy in the dream. Me, I was there in the dream. And whatever was there in the dream was also me. Upon enlightenment, the enlightened sage realizes that. Yes, I am the person. That everybody says, yes, I am the person. But the difference is that enlightened sage will also say, I am everything here. I am the person experiencing the objective universe, but I am also the objective experience universe which is being experienced. This is the meaning of Tat Tvam Asi, that you are. That you are. The R is the underlying, that's the secret, that's the Advaitic secret. Tat Tvam, Tat objective, Tvam you. Asi is equal to, that equal to is this whole secret. All right. Anybody who wants to ask a question, we'll come to you this. Yes, please come here, you can ask the question. Then we'll come to you later. We'll take 2 questions. And then you can come next.
Good morning.
Yes, tell us your name.
My name is Jane. So I have a question about Turiya, specifically when it's described as the space between 2 thoughts. So is it correct to say that this gap between thoughts is only noticed a moment later when we're actively thinking about it? So while in the gap, there's no thinking, and so there's no noticing it either. It simply is, nothing else to be thought about or perceived.
Yes, well put. I think it's one of the Advaitic texts, Vakyavritti perhaps, I have forgotten which one, a small introductory text, Prakarana Grantha, in which Shankaracharya himself has pointed this out, that in the gap between 2 thoughts, consciousness alone shines, illumining the gap between 2 thoughts. So the witness consciousness shines there. There's actually a long debate between the Buddhist school of mind only, Vijnanavada. They say that there is no permanent consciousness. They say there's no permanent consciousness. The school of Vijnanavada, Yogachara Vijnanavada. That's a school of mind only. Now they say what is there is a stream of flashes of consciousness. So there's a momentary flash of consciousness, then another momentary flash of consciousness, then another momentary flash of consciousness. As against the Advaitic or Sankhyan idea that there is one underlying constant illumination, consciousness. This is the argument. And they say that it's because it is a continuous stream of flashes, generates an illusion of continuity, but there is no continuity. And they give the example of a firebrand being whirled around. If I whirl my finger around like that, you will very soon see a circle. So it looks like a continuous circle, but what is it? It's one dot of light being whirled around. Similarly, there are flashes of light, flashes of consciousness coming instantaneously, one after another. And they seem like one continuous consciousness, but there is no continuous consciousness, and therefore there is no continuous self. That's the Buddhist argument. Now, the arguments against that given by the Nyaya school, by the Vedantins also. Here is one argument which relates to what you're asking. The reply is that, so you're saying it's a series of flashes of consciousness. Yes. So it's a discrete series, one flash, one flash, one flash, one flash. Or is it continuous? It's discrete, that's what we said, momentary flashes of consciousness. So one arises and then disappears and another one arises. There's a gap between each one of them. Is there a gap or is there no gap? There has to be. If there is no gap, then it becomes one continuous consciousness. But if there is a gap, how do you know, is that gap known or unknown? If that gap is known or established, it requires consciousness. If it is unknown, why speak of it? If it's unknown and unknowable, why speak of it? If it is experienceable, then consciousness must be there to experience it. You can't have an experience without consciousness. So there is consciousness in the gap also. So it's not a flash anymore. In either case, one continuous consciousness is established. Now, that's not to say that the Buddhists are not onto something. They are. What arises and disappears, what flashes in and out, is what is called vijnana, the movements, the vrittis of the buddhi, the intellect, the mind. The mind is continuously flickering. And those are discrete flickerings. In between two flickerings is no flickering at all. The mind is supposed to be silent in between the two. And only consciousness illumines that. So in the silence between two flashes of thought, of emotion, of perception, of judgment, of memory, between two flashes, in that silence, in that gap, it will be a blankness, momentary blankness. If you can see yourself as the witness of that blankness, which you are, then you realize that you are pure consciousness. Or turiya, pure consciousness. Now, one must extend this a little further. This pure consciousness is not only there between the flashes of movements of the mind, between the gaps, but it's also there when the mind is active. Not only the absence of thought is revealed by consciousness, thoughts are also revealed by consciousness. Emotions are revealed. How do I know that I have a thought? How do I know I feel pain and pleasure? How? Because you are aware, you're conscious. That same consciousness which felt relaxed and calm, and suddenly there's a pinch, ouch, you say. Same consciousness reveals that, experiences it. So consciousness is continuous, the revealer of the movements of thought, the revealer of the gaps between the movements of thought. In fact, samadhi is an attempt to widen that gap. To cessation of the movements of the mind, you widen that gap more and more. But all that will do is, it will show you as the ever-present witness. And once you know that you are the ever-present witness, you can see even when the mind is not in samadhi, when the thoughts are coming, memories are coming, pleasure and pain are coming, actions are being performed, you are the same witness consciousness. Yes, thank you. Please come. I'll come to you next. Tell us your name and ask the question.
Hello, my name is Arpit. I am here to seek guidance. I have experienced non-duality and the death of my ego for a very brief time. I know in my core that I am the spirit, I am infinite, I am consciousness, and that time, space, and causality are just reflection. But right now, I'm really scared to meditate. I'm scared to get into a permanent state of non-duality, because when I was in that non-dual state, I had no I, and all the goals and motivations, all the targets I currently have, because there is no I lose everything. And it's like one experience after another experience after another experience, and nothing to look forward to. I am neutral to everything, and I'm really scared to get into that space again, and I need guidance.
I experienced non-duality. that it was an experience, definitely a very profound experience. And you remember, it affected you strongly. So you remember that experience was there. Arpit, who experienced that non-duality, and the Arpit who is experiencing duality right now, that one, are they two different ones or is it the same one?
No, this Arpit is not real, and the real Arpit that I faced at that time, there was no Arpit. Everything was I. This whole mind that every thoughts and belief.
Hold on there. This Arpit who is not real, you're experiencing a personality called Arpit who is not real, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going on now?
Yeah.
And when that goes away, totally, the one who sees that one who sees that one, the absence of Arpit, the vanishing of Arpit, and right now you see the unreal Arpit, that one, is that different? That one who saw the vanishing of Arpit and the one who is seeing the unreal Arpit now, is that different? Are they the same?
This unreal Arpit is reflection of the real Arpit.
All right. But that real one, which saw the disappearance of Arpit, and which is experiencing Arpit right now, that one is the same or not? It's the same?
Yeah.
Yes. And in that same consciousness, that same awareness, same being, whatever it is, in that Arpit appears and Arpit disappears. Right?
Yeah.
That one is the one undivided ground of the appearance and disappearance of Arpit and Arpit's world. Subject and object, and that disappears. But that undivided ground, which is your real nature, it remains constant.
Yes.
It's always there.
Yeah.
Now, what I want you to see is that when Arpit, the unreal personality and its world disappears, its projects, ambitions, everything disappears, and you remain as that ground alone. You're calling that non-dual experience.
Yes.
This one is also non-dual. When you, that one undivided ground of experience in which Arpit appears, you feel that, no, this is duality. No, it is not. Why not? Why not? I'll explain why not. See, duality means the existence of a second real thing. But you said this Arpit is unreal. You are the reality, experiencing an unreal personality called Arpit. That unreal cannot be counted as a second reality apart from you. The reality. Therefore, since Arpit is not a second reality apart from you, the reality, you remain as non-dual reality even while experiencing the so-called unreal Arpit. Is that understandable?
Yeah, I do understand.
Therefore, this is also non-dual experience. That experience of deep peace and the absence of subject and object, that complete neutrality, it is non-dual. This is also non-dual. In fact, every possible experience is non-dual that way. Because you, the non-dual ground of all experience, are always there. You have no choice in that. Only this appearance appears, plays around and disappears. In fact, what you're saying happens to all of us. It happens to all of us. In deep sleep, the unreal personality and its appearing world also disappears. But in deep sleep, we don't feel that. We just wake up, we just say it's nothing, and when we come back into this world, and then we get identified with this one personality and start interacting. But if you consciously, deliberately do that, you see the disappearance of Arpit and Arpit's world, and the reappearance of Arpit and Arpit's world, in you, the undivided, non-dual ground of all experience. You are with me. Therefore, I say, first and foremost, don't worry about Arpit. You be relaxed about it. You say, nothing has happened when Arpit and Arpit's world disappears. And nothing happens really when Arpit and Arpit's world appears. You be relaxed, because that non-dual ground is always relaxed. It offers no resistance at all to anything. Like the vast sky does not offer any resistance to any kinds of clouds appearing or disappearing. When all sorts of clouds appear, good clouds and bad clouds, sky is just the same. When no clouds appear, sky is just the same. You are like that vast sky. Now, let Arpit reappear And Arpit's world will reappear. Let it appear. You have no choice in that. And you have no problem at all with it. Remain relaxed. And let this appearance, you appearing as Arpit, lead its life. You see, all projects and all disappear. In one sense, it's a good thing. It's a relaxation of worldliness. Don't be scared about it. And don't think that your life will come to an end. It won't. Guaranteed. It has not so far, and it will not. Rather, lead your life with peace and joy and calmness and wonder. That I, the limitless non-duality, am appearing as this person and that world. Also, keep in mind this thing. If this is my realization, if I am the non-dual reality underlying all appearance, why should Arpit ever undergo any kind of negativities anymore? Fear, anger, greed, hatred, disappointment. I am the non-dual reality underlying everything in this universe. When we wake up from a dream and we look back upon the dream character, all the hopes and frustrations of the dream character are laughable from our perspective. Let that person do as well as he or she can. Succeed, fail, rise, sink, and one day disappear. I am fine with it. Maim ananta mahambodho ascharyam jiva vichaya udyanti gnanti khelanti prabhishanti swabhavata. In me, the limitless ocean of consciousness, how extraordinary are these waves called jivas, sentient beings. Let them rise up, udyanti. Let them khelanti, they play with each other. Gnanti, they fight with each other. And what is the final result? Prabhishanti, they merge back into me. In me, the limitless non-dual ground of all experience, which I am. Suppose you turn your mind away from it, you will still be it. Choicelessly we are that. It's not a negative thing at all. I am that. In me, how amazing is this? All these jivas, the waves are arising, including Arpit. They play around, they lead their lives, they fight, they love, and they disappear one day. I do not appear nor disappear. I am always there. That non-dual ground of reality, which I am. Very good. Very good. One project that Arpit can have right now with this knowledge, what is the difference? One can have, this is called the grand project of Jivan Mukti. Can I make my life a more positive, peaceful, joyful, ethical life, fearless? Once Arpit knows that that's my underlying reality, should Arpit have any fear at all? No. Nothing. Nothing can be lost. Even if this body goes away, nothing is lost at all. Lead the best possible life that Arpit can ever lead. That this realization gives you the freedom to do that. Very good. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. There is. That's a good question. Why is there a fear of loss of identity? There is a fear. There's a kind of uneasiness about it, a fear about it. Now let me ask you this question. Center yourself in that non-dual ground of reality, which you are, that non-dual ground. Suppose you say that I am that. Now look upon that fear. Is the fear a fear of that ground or of Arpit? Whose fear is it? Who is afraid or who is complaining? The mind, is it not?
Yes.
Yet it is the mind which is complaining. The mind gets scared. Mind gets scared. It fears losing its reality. It fears losing its centrality. The ego, its ego is diminished. It is made a trifle then. And therefore the ego protests, the mind protests against this. No matter. You can tell to the mind, don't dismiss it. Say you are my child. Do the best you can. Live the best life you can. Before you, I was. After you disappear, I will be. And when you are there, I still am. Don't worry, I hold you up. I am your support. Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. This lady there, please come. After that, we'll take a question from the internet audience.
First of all, Swamiji, I'm thrilled to be here, and I would like to thank you for this amazing
Tell us
gift.
your name.
Julie.
Julie.
It's an amazing gift that you have and you're sharing with us by explaining such a complex things in this amazing, simple and enlightened way. So thank you so much. And in one of your lectures, you were telling that you were a very devoted learner of Advaita Vedanta, and once one of your friends brought you the book about Kashmir Shaivism, and said that this is the Kashmir Shaivism, which is even, bigger and more elaborated than Advaita. You definitely will switch to it. So, and you never did. Can you explain why?
Yes. So why didn't I switch to Kashmiri Shaivism if I like it so much, if I admit all its excellencies? I won't tell you. People will feel hurt if I tell you. I can refer you, if you like. There is a book, The Advaita Tradition in Indian Philosophy by Chandradhar Sharma. I think even if the book is not, it's available in libraries, and the PDFs are available online. At the end of the book is a chapter, a critique of Kashmiri Shaivism from an Advaita perspective. So maybe in several pages, he basically tears it apart. And even before I read that, I understood what the problem was. Now see, what is Kashmiri Shaivism? It's not one coherent philosophy. It's a whole host of similar, a family of philosophies. What Kashmiri Shaivism does is, it takes the experiences of various spiritual practitioners and gives them importance, significance. So people have various visions, people have various experiences of life, various deities, various kinds of samadhis, and you give all of those things a part in a position in your worldview. Then you will get Kashmiri Shaivism. What I'm saying is, this is what I shared with Professor Stanishwar Timalsina, but my reading of Kashmiri Shaivism is, it's a philosophical framework for the phenomenology of spiritual experience. If you have spiritual experience, vast range of spiritual experiences are possible. You see it, first of all, in a very concentrated way in the life of Sri Ramakrishna. A wonderful range of spiritual experiences. But you see it in the mystical traditions across Kashmiri Shaivism, across the whole of Hinduism, across the world religions. Every world religion has a mystical tradition at its core. And you will see not one mystical experience, but a whole spectrum of mystical experiences. Now, if you want to give importance to all those mystical experiences, that they are all revealing an aspect of reality, you will have a very capacious, very wide understanding of reality. And all of that, if you want to make it a philosophy, you get Kashmiri Shaivism. But it's a kind of having the cake and eating it too. I don't want to do it, use the knife on something which is so nice and dear to me. Let me just put it this way. As a spiritual practitioner, as a sadhaka seeking enlightenment, there is a vast amount, a load of things which we can learn from Kashmiri Shaivism. It can help us. But if you want philosophy, if you want logic and consistency, and you want the core ultimate truth, there's nothing like Advaita Vedanta. It's par excellence. First of all, it's straight. It's direct and straight. It's just one step or two steps. That's it. Done. And second, for philosophical consistency, by sheer logic and rationality, Advaita is very tight. The arguments are very tightly connected. So these are some of the reasons why I sort of take for example, if you go to a philosopher of mind, or more so, to a logician, to a skeptic, it's very difficult to defend Kashmiri Shaivism if people are attacking and arguing against you. It's much more easier to defend Advaita Vedanta. It's much more easy. It's sort of impregnable, indestructible sort of. Anyone who is reasonable, a skeptic, would still be sort of forced into an uncomfortable silence, even if they don't accept it. One of the leading atheists in the world today, Sam Harris, he says, Sam Harris, if you look him up, he says that that any mind which is open to reason cannot doubt that at least these two traditions in spirituality, Dzogchen Buddhism and Advaita Vedanta, have at least a core of truth. A core of truth. He's the one who dismisses all religion as nonsense. And even in Advaita and in Dzogchen Buddhism, most of he says the metaphysical baggage and all, he dismisses it. But both have a very significant core of truth. He says, I cannot dismiss it. Being this outright skeptic. So that's the power of Advaita Vedanta. That's why Vivekananda said the only religion for a rational world, he says Advaita Vedanta. In this day and age especially. If you're convinced of the truth of spiritual teachings in Advaita Vedanta, then you can happily, another advantage is, you can happily take advantage of all the wonderful things that Kashmir Shaivism has to offer from an Advaitic perspective. Whatever Kashmir Shaivism has to offer, I can clearly see its importance, significance, effectiveness, especially effectiveness.
Because the concept I am that you just explained, it's basically Shiva's Leelas, because it's practically the same way, we are the Shiva.
Absolutely. So in that sense, it's part of the Advaita tradition. That's why I recommended that book, Chandradhar Sharma, The Advaita Tradition in Indian Philosophy. So he has a chapter in Advaita Vedanta, but he has a chapter on Kashmir Shaivism also. That's also part of the Advaita tradition. For a spiritual seeker, you're a spiritual seeker, I am a spiritual seeker. For us, these technical differences don't matter so much. We can note them and we'll be happy with them. All right, we note. All right, so these are the differences. This is one way of approaching, that's another way of approaching. For philosophers, these differences are very important. But for us, it's secondary importance. We can benefit from each. Have a home tradition. So if your home tradition is Kashmiri Shaivism, congratulations, nothing like it. And you can benefit from the insights of all the other traditions also. For a spiritual seeker, not much of a problem, especially after Shri Ramakrishna. He says, these are paths. And not only paths, you can benefit from each path also. You can follow one path, but you can learn from the others and enrich your path also. Yeah. Thank you. Take a question from the internet audience.
This question is from Mahir Patel. Can you please explain what Swami Vivekananda meant when he said eternal progression is eternal bondage in the Inspired Talks, June 27th, 1895?
Eternal progression is eternal bondage. Inspired Talks. So that's one book I strongly recommend. Swami Vivekananda's Inspired Talks. 1895, he went from New York to the St. Lawrence River. There's a place called Thousand Island Park. A group of American devotees, they organized like a retreat. The Swami also got a break from his regular schedule of teaching here in New York. Actually, he didn't get a break because he taught more there. But there, with a small group of people, 12, at times less, he poured out his heart. He was not lecturing to big audiences. He was lecturing to a chosen few. So he poured out his heart over the next 5 weeks or so. And those are collected as the Inspired Talks. Often you will find it as 1 or 2 sentences. And then he switched to another topic. Often what happened was the lady who was taking down notes, she was so carried away by that inspiration, by that eloquence, she stopped taking notes. But enough, she took down enough for us. So it's dated, for example, he has quoted from a particular date. So it's with dates. And what Swami Vivekananda said, I'm sure it's often in the same language, because language is very clearly Vivekananda, very stirring, very powerful. So it is full of deep insights, like this one. So this had not come to my notice, but he has pointed out here that Mihir has pointed out here that eternal progression is eternal bondage. That's a very Vivekananda way of saying it. If we think it is an endless path and we'll get better and better and better, and there's no end to it, well, then you are limited. You are forever. One sadhu in Uttarakhand said, "Kitne din sadhak ban ke rahoge, Mahatma ji? How many days will you be a seeker? Will you never be a finder?" Come on, move on, move on. How long will you be a seeker? Eternal progress. I'm becoming better and better, more and more spiritual. And then, no, that's all. This is eternal bondage. That means you're never perfect. You're never free. You're never enlightened. Eternal bondage. In the Gospel of Shri Ramakrishna, we find once, devotees are sitting around, Shri Ramakrishna is talking, and somebody just remarks, "This is an endless path." Shri Ramakrishna immediately corrects him. He says, "No. Where you find peace, that's the end. At least for you. Jekhane shanti, shekhane shesh." Peace, of course, not in just, I feel good now, is this the end? No. It won't be. When you find that peace, in the Bible it's called the peace that passeth understanding. In Mandukya Upanishad, this Turiya is called peace, Shantam. When you find that, you will know for yourself that it's done. A journey of lifetimes, quote unquote, journey of lifetimes is at an end, it's a culmination. It's done and it's done forever. Congratulations to you. That is the end. It's also the beginning, because this is the first time you're free now. Swami Brahmananda ji said cryptically once, Nirvikalpa Samadhi is the beginning of spiritual life. In what sense? In the sense that it's real for you now for the first time. That reality was always there, but we didn't see it. Now we see it. It's real for you for the first time. Congratulations. You are liberated. You are the happy one. Now for the first time life is joy. It's not that life is boring. The life has become purposeless. No. For the first time, all of it is joy. All of it is fulfilling. For the first time, you are relaxed. Before that, we were running from lifetime to lifetime as if chased by hounds. For the first time, you're relaxed. Vivekananda said, imagine the joy of knowing that you cannot die. I know that I cannot die, so I'm not in a hurry. Imagine the joy of loving everybody as God. He told Ingersoll. Ingersoll had said, I don't believe in God, spirituality. I believe in squeezing the orange of this life, to getting the last drop of it. He says, squeeze that fruit in this way and get 10,000-fold more. Get every last drop. For the first time, life will be fun, be joy. All of life, limitless joy. Suppose life disappears, death comes. The universe disappears itself. Not a whit of difference will be made to you. For you, suppose the world of your dreams disappears. You just say, oh, that was a dream. Just too bad. Nice dream. You dismiss it. You are not shaken by that. Why are you not shaken? Because you know none of that was real, or conversely, whatever was real there is real right now. I, the dreamer, am here right now. What have I lost? Nothing. So, eternal progression is eternal bondage. What he means by that is an ultimate truth, that there is a reality. It's not that you keep on changing and developing. After you realize that reality, will progress stop? No. Progress can continue. That's part of the drama of you, the limitless consciousness. The drama is being played out. Let it continue. You'll welcome all sorts of progress. You'll welcome progress in your particular life. You express your divinity more and more. That's why Vivekananda defined spirituality as the manifestation of the divinity already within us. Realize the divinity already within you. That's the end. That's the end, and that's the beginning. Beginning of what? Manifestation of the divinity within you. The world might call it progress. You're becoming a better and better person. You'll say thank you, and you'll smile a little bit. You will welcome development, progress in your personal life. You'll welcome development and progress in the community, in society, in the world. We'll be fine. One more.
More on Buddhism, Swamiji.
Yes.
This is from Devasmita Day. Swamiji, I'm currently studying Buddhism from India, particularly the Prasangic
Prasangika.
Prasangika Madhyamika school of Mahayana Tibetan Buddhism.
Yes.
As I explore these traditions, I notice strong parallels between the non-dual Vedantic philosophies and the Prasangika Madhyamika school. However, I find that studying Buddhism in English often loses the depth of certain concepts, and the interpretations I encounter vary based on each teacher's understanding. For instance, there is a recurring emphasis on anatman and emptiness of emptiness. The ultimate truth within this school seems to conclude that nothing exists independently, not even Atman. I struggle with this interpretation as I understand that the Buddha never explicitly stated that there is no self. Nagarjuna, in his commentaries, also seems to walk a fine line, suggesting that there is a subtle reality between self and no self. This leaves me with the questions: how can I better approach or reconcile this idea within myself?
Before I go into that, I think some people are feeling a little warm down there. Can you switch on the fans?
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It has become a little warmer outside also.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is a subject I have a special interest in, and I entirely sympathize with the person who's written. This was one of the subjects I studied. I did a course with Professor J. Garfield, a leading authority on this subject in the world today, at the Harvard Divinity School a few years ago. And what was the course about? Exactly what she is talking about. It was Indo-Tibetan Madhyamaka Buddhism. That philosophy tracing its growth and development, especially with reference to the concept of emptiness. And the Prasangika school, tracing its growth and development from Nagarjuna, who lived nearly 2,000 years ago in India. And from there to the followers of Nagarjuna, like Bhava Viveka, Chandrakirti, Buddha Palita and others. And then its transmission to Tibet. And then the further development of the same philosophy, the philosophy of emptiness, those are the emptiness people. The philosophy of emptiness in Tibetan Buddhism, from Mifam, or before that, Tsongkhapa, Mabja and others. So, a history until today. So, history of nearly 2,000 years. And what she said in English, I really sympathize with that, because I was thinking, what was written in Sanskrit in the Mula Madhyamaka Karikas, the verses on the middle way by Nagarjuna nearly 2,000 years ago, and the commentaries written in Sanskrit in the Nalanda school, university in Bihar, in India, 1,1500 years ago, to its Tibetan developments written and done in Tibetan on the high icy plateaus of Tibet, from 1100, 1200 AD, 1300, 1400, 1500, 1600, 1700, 1800, up to that. To almost incomprehensible English at Harvard University in the 21st century. So that's the journey of the same text, Sanskrit, then Sanskrit commentaries, then Tibetan, and now in English. So it's a fascinating journey. What she refers to as the Prasangika Madhyamaka school, Prasanga is a kind of argument. It's what might be called a dialectical argument, employed by Nagarjuna and formalized by his disciples and followers later on, over the centuries. It goes like this. The question raised, for example, about the self. Does the self exist? And Nagarjuna's answer to that is no. Does it exist? No. Oh, so it does not exist. Not that either. It's not that it does not exist. Oh, so it exists and does not exist. No, not that either. So it neither exists nor does not exist. No, not that either. So this is called Chatushkoti Vinirmukta Tattvam. There are 4 logical alternatives And the truth, the reality, lies beyond all four. This is called emptiness, shunyata. Emptiness is not nothingness. Emptiness is not nothingness. Nagarjuna himself says, those who think that we are nihilists, we think that there is nothing at all, they do us a grave injustice. We are trying to point out the nature of reality. The nature of reality is not nothing, but it's not something either. So it's like this. I think there is a right way of understanding Madhyamaka and there is a wrong way of understanding Madhyamaka. Just as there is a right way of understanding Advaita and there is a wrong way of understanding Advaita. What is the wrong way of understanding Madhyamaka Buddhism? What is Madhyamaka? Madhyamaka literally means middle path. Middle path between what? Middle path between two extremes of eternalism and nihilism. The self. There is a separate self, something called the self, Atman, Brahman, which is eternal. Among all the things there are microphones and swamis and flower vases, and there is a self or Brahman. If you take an inventory, audit, then you find one item called the self. That is one extreme. It's called eternalism, Shashvatavad. And the other extreme is, there is no such thing called the self. There is no reality called the self. This is called nihilism, Uchchedavada. And both are wrong. The truth lies in between the two, between existence and non-existence. So this is the Madhyamaka, middle path. So the middle path, so their argument is that Nagarjuna says, you do us a grave injustice if you call us that we are nihilists, that we say there is nothing. No, we don't say that. There is a right way of understanding that and a wrong way of understanding it. What is the wrong way of understanding Madhyamaka? The wrong way of understanding Madhyamaka is they are saying there is nothing. It's wrong. What is the wrong way of understanding Advaita? That they are saying that there is something called Atman or Brahman. That's wrong. It's not a thing like these things. Then what's the right way of understanding both? Something and nothing. These are wrong ways. What's the right way of understanding? Both Madhyamaka and Advaita, both are saying the reality is no thing, not nothing, no dash thing. In that both are agreed. All right. Let me go a little further. This kind of argument that the self, it's not true that the self exists. It's not, that means it doesn't exist as an object, as a thing. It's not true that the self exists. It's not true that the self does not exist. It's not true that the self both exists and does not exist. It's not true that it's neither the self exists nor does it not exist. That's also not true. The denial of four logical alternatives, this kind of argument is called prasanga. It leads you, what in geometry we have all done this, that reductio ad absurdum. It leads to a conclusion which is absurd. And therefore, the philosophy is discarded. And this discarding of the philosophy by reducing it to absurdity is called shunyata, emptiness. Nagarjuna says, shunyata sarvadrishtinam. All philosophies are empty. Empty, empty, all is empty. All philosophies are empty. All philosophical constructs are empty. They do not refer to any reality at all. Somebody said to him, well then your philosophy is also empty. Your philosophy of emptiness is also empty. He said, if I have a philosophical view, it would be empty. But since I do not, I do not have that fault. If I had a proposition to prove, you could accuse me of saying something empty. But since I have nothing to prove, only whatever you try to prove, I'll show you you're wrong. That's all. This is called the Prasangika school of Madhyamaka Buddhism. And this is the central mainstream philosophy of Tibetan Buddhism today. The existing schools of Tibetan Buddhism, the Gelugpa, to which the Dalai Lama, His Holiness, belongs. He is the head of the Gelugpa. And then the Sakyapa, the Nyingmapa, the Kagyupa. The Kagyu, Nyingma, Sakya and Gelug schools. 4 major schools of Tibetan Buddhism today. All of them hold Prasangika Madhyamaka to be their official philosophy. The traditional, that is their view of Buddhism. I would recommend a book to this person and anybody else who's interested, by a very revered, well-known Lama who passed away recently. The book is called Progressive Stages of Meditation on Emptiness. I had the same kind of confusions and questions which the writer has, and even after completing the course. See, this is the question. By this process, are you saying that Madhyamaka Buddhism and Advaita Vedanta are both pointing to the same reality, the no thing? Are you saying that? I am saying it. But my professor did not agree. My professor said, look, what is Madhyamaka saying? My professor said, look, if by listening to, if you're studying Madhyamaka, this Prasangika Madhyamaka, you get the feeling that you're falling into a bottomless well, then you've got it right. If you hit the bottom, then you're wrong. That's not a Madhyamaka. He's right. He's right. Because if you hit the bottom, you're hitting some construct. And that also has to be deconstructed by the Prasangika. But what he's leaving out is that there is reality. And in this process, the reality is grasped. Only thing is, you should not state it as a philosophical position. That's what they're careful about. And there, Advaita agrees. So there are these slightly differing views, I would say. One is that, does it point to no thing? I would say yes. Is it like falling into a bottomless well? I would say that also can be reconciled methodologically with this. So here is a book which will explain all this. Progressive Stages of Meditation on Emptiness. Very slim volume. The Cliff Notes version of it is, the concept of emptiness, the teaching of, I will say not say concept, the teaching of emptiness has been given at 5 levels. Has been given at 5 levels. First, the Theravada level, which shows that this everything is changing. There's no permanent underlying reality. So that's the Theravada Buddhist level. Step 1. That's also shunyata. Everything is continuously changing. See this fist. What's the nature of the fist? There is no such thing as fist because there are 5 fingers. Just arrangement of that is, so the entity called the fist is actually empty. And then the fingers themselves also you can analyze like that. Then the next level of analysis is the mind-only school, which says the emptiness of the other, the entire world is an appearance in consciousness. That's the mind-only school. But the consciousness also is a stream of momentary flashes. That's the difference between Advaita and the mind-only school. That's the second level. Then the third and fourth levels of emptiness are what are known as the Swatantrika Madhyamaka school and the Prasangika Madhyamaka school. Among the Madhyamakas also there is a division. Swatantrika, which means those who give independent arguments to prove emptiness. And Prasangika, Prasangika is the method which Dalai Lama and all his followers, they follow. That is, don't give independent arguments. Whatever argument somebody else gives, show that it's wrong. That's all. Reduce it to absurdity. That's the Prasangika school. And that's the mainstream. And in fact, there are no Swatantrika schools. This is an interesting footnote to it. You will think that there are 2 schools now in Buddha, in the Madhyamaka. One is Swatantrika, one Prasangika. I had to write a paper on this, so forgive me. So, the interesting thing is there is nobody who is actually a follower who will say, I am a follower of Swatantrika Madhyamaka. It's actually a pejorative term, a term of insult. So when the Prasangika Madhyamakas want to show that other person is at fault, they will say, you are a Swatantrika Madhyamaka. So there's no real Swatantrika, nobody claiming to be a Swatantrika Madhyamaka. Anyway, there are 4. Now the third one is the Swatantrika Madhyamaka position on emptiness. Fourth one is the Prasangika Madhyamaka position on emptiness, which is the main one. If you meet any Tibetan Lama, they will hold that one. And they will explain it to you as that. But there is a 5th one. 5th one is, there was a school called the Jonang school, which has disappeared. Texts are still available. There's a school of Tibetan Buddhism called the Jonang school, which has disappeared, which is suppressed. And their view of emptiness is, wait for it, limitless consciousness. So there, even the Prasangika Madhyamaka, I think it's a good corrective. If you read Prasangika Madhyamaka with Advaita Vedanta, it's a good corrective. It cleans up conceptual debris and leaves you with the truth itself. It's a good corrective to objectifying Brahman. So I'll leave it at that. Somebody raised a hand here. Yes, please come.
Hi, my name is Shaheen.
Yes.
I have two questions, but it depends on the first answer.
Yeah.
So, regarding the first two questions from the internet, you explained that the pure consciousness, and God. So, is pure consciousness God?
Yes. Is pure consciousness God? Yes and no. I'll make it's not very difficult to understand. Just as Vedanta would say pure consciousness is shine, but there's a distinction between the two. The distinction is pure consciousness by itself is not shine. It's pure consciousness with an overlay of the mind and personality, and this body is called shine right now. So shine is a person. Pure consciousness is impersonal. But you cannot exist. Shine would not exist without that pure consciousness. That's your core reality. Similarly, God can be personal. Atman, Brahman, Nirguna Brahman is not a person. It's an impersonal principle. God can be and is in fact worshipped in the great world religions as a personal God. Somebody some reality which will respond to our prayers, which can intervene in human affairs, which in fact is responsible for the creation, maintenance and ultimate dissolution of this universe. It's the beginning and end of all affairs here in this world, and is always available to us as a loving, beneficent, protecting power. So it's a person, a divine personality. So this is the difference. In Vedanta there are these two terms. Nirguna Brahman, Saguna Brahman. Brahman literally means the vast. We can loosely call it God. Nirguna Brahman, the impersonal absolute, which is pure consciousness, pure being, pure bliss, Satchidananda. Saguna Brahman, Brahman with attributes, is with personality, is the creator, preserver, destroyer of the universe, all-powerful, all-knowing, merciful, beneficent, benevolent, the God of all religions. And their two are not different. They're the same.
Is that why, you call them Bhagwan?
Yes.
God, and then they refer, I see God in you.
Yes.
So it's just for us to understand. That's why they use those phrases.
No, it is not just for understanding. It's real. Bhagavan, Ishvara. Bhagavan is the Lord. Ishvara is God. It's real. Just as shine as a personality is real. It's not that God is a mental construct, just for us to understand. Ultimately, the pure consciousness alone is real and everything else is a mental construct. You can say that. If you can regard shine, this body, this universe as a construct, then you can dismiss God as a construct. But we cannot do that. What generally happens is when I say, is it just for us to understand? Is it a mental construct? Is it a concept? God, is it a concept? What do we mean by that? I am real and my cookie is real. But God is a construct. Not in that sense. In the sense that the world is real, in the sense that this body and personality and whatever you like in this world is real, in that sense God is also as much real as everything else is. But in that case, this Nirguna Brahman, this pure consciousness, what we are talking about, Brahman, the ultimate absolute, is a greater reality. That's why Vivekananda said, don't say from falsity to real. Say from lower truth to higher truth.
But there are so many multiple names, so it's our own construct, right?
There's so many multiple names, so that must be our construct. Again, yes and no. Yes, because those names are given by us. Those names are realized by us. Those names are utilized by us, names and forms. In Hinduism, we have multiple forms. Those names are utilized by us to connect with the divine. In that sense, yes, it is given by us. But again, it's not imagination. The reason why so many names are given, so many forms are there, so many concepts are there about God, is because God is, to use the word, capacious, limitless. And the spiritual seeker who approaches God through any of these paths realizes God in that way and reaffirms once again the truth of God in that aspect. So Sri Ramakrishna said, like an ant approaching a mountain of sugar. And it takes one little grain and with difficulty pulls it back to its little home and looks back and says, I'm going to come back for all of it. It won't, it can't, and it need not. One grain of sugar is enough to fill the tiny little tummy of the ant. Similarly, for us, Any one of these aspects is enough. As Sri Ramakrishna said, where peace, you find peace, that is the end. So all of these aspects are true. Try any one of those aspects in whichever religion. Do it sincerely, hold on to it for some time. Few years, if you do at least sincerely, if you do faster, few months, it will become clear to you it's real. Only don't be fanatical about it, that this is the only reality. What happens is sometimes sincere spiritual seekers become fanatical, because as they sincerely progress along that path, it becomes more and more real, and then they feel, this is the reality. Why are all those fools thinking about God in all those different ways? But those are also real. If you would try in that way, you would find that to be real also. The reason is, what they are all referring to, there is a reality which is so capacious, you can approach in all of these ways. So these names and forms are a joint product of the limitless capaciousness of God, Ishvara, Bhagavan, the Saguna Brahman, and our human approach to it. There is a human approach, because you will see each culture, each religion has its own framework to approach it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Just as different paths are different, these different names and forms, concepts are also different. But they all work. They all work. Yeah.
Thanks.
The gentleman there, yes, please come. And then I'll come to you.
Hello, Swamiji. It's an honor to be here again.
What's your name?
My name is Matt.
Matt.
So a question, actually, you alluded to him before. You were talking about Sam Harris. And
Yes.
someone else you had here, Greg Good.
Yes.
They both speak very highly of the Headless Way. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
Yes.
So I was wondering about what exactly myself and a lot of people seem to be missing with that, because when I can see that when I look back at the space here, it's empty but full of all the forms, and that there's no end. Even when I stick my heads out, there's still consciousness here. But to me, it feels, and to many other people, it seems incredibly neutral, where it seems like anything, no matter how painful, is effortlessly welcomed into the present moment.
Yes.
But this description of infinite love and bliss, like what is missing here that me and a lot of other people seem to be
All right.
doing at?
So to give context, the Headless Way, it's like this. So one person, he wanted to see Shiva. And there's a story. And he meditated and did a lot of tapasya, spiritual practices. And he never saw Shiva. So in his dream, he was very sad. In his dream, Shiva appeared to him. And this person said, I've been seeking you, my Lord, but I've never been able to see you. Then Shiva said, all right, tomorrow I will come to you. Look for the headless person. And so the next morning, this man very happily went around looking for the headless. I'll see Shiva today. But everybody has a head. See? They all have heads. Yeah. You also. Everybody has heads. Everybody has heads. Where is the headless person? And until suddenly his own attention fell upon his own body, and he looked, chest, neck, can't see a head anywhere. Oh my God, this is what Shiva meant. The headless, who's the headless person? You are. So it's a Vedantic, the Mahavakya, Shiva is you. Tattvamasi, that you are. Or as Shankaracharya sings, Chidananda Rupa, Shivoham, Shivoham, I am Shiva, I am Shiva. Now what does it mean? This is the practice. The practice is, sit quietly and notice that as it feels. As it feels means there's a word called phenomenology. Phenomenologically, I seem to have no head. Of course I have, but I seem to have no head. Because in the way I see it. And this space is full of what? Everything. The whole universe is here. Only my head is not here. Now what does it mean? Stay with that. Stay with that experience. Instead of thinking of yourself, myself as a person somewhere in this skull, experiencing an external world, see that remove this skull, this personality. It's a good, powerful meditation exercise. And headless, I am there. The whole universe is appearing. Where used to be that head? This world, everything else. It will inevitably go to the witness consciousness, which is not an object. All are objects appearing in me, the witness consciousness. Don't make the witness consciousness another object. It will become another skull, a head. It is the headless one. In that witness consciousness, all of these forms are arising. And as he said, I resist nothing. You can't. Everything that comes into consciousness is arising in that witness consciousness. Good, bad, desirable, undesirable, everything. Not the least bit of resistance is there. Now notice two things about it. One, all the desirable, undesirable, good and bad, they arise and disappear in me in this headless space of awareness. They arise and disappear. In Vedanta, the ground in which an appearance arises and disappears, that ground is called the reality, and the appearances are, technical term is mithya. If you experience something and then in that same place you experience its absence, then what you experience is not a reality. Then what is the reality? That ground is the reality. The underlying reality is that ground. Where did you experience it? In the headless space. Where are you experiencing everything? In the headless space. So the whole universe, which appears and disappears in the headless space, I am that headless space. In me, the whole universe appears and disappears. Therefore the universe, all its people, all its events, good and bad, are appearances, like a dream. Bad is also another dream. You may call it a nightmare. It's also a dream. Because they are appearances, they are mithya, they are false, they are dream-like. The dream-like, the false, the appearance cannot affect the reality. Therefore, you, the headless space, that one consciousness not limited by a skull, you are not affected by what appears to you. Therefore, you can be neutral. For the painful and the not painful, because ultimately even the painful is not painful to you. That headless space. See, the vast blue sky is neutral to bad weather and good weather. One reason being, the sky is very clever, because the so-called bad weather can't do anything to the sky. The storms and thunder and lightning, and they cannot affect the vast blue sky. Similarly, the headless space is not affected by whatever appears in the headless space. If it was a skull, it would be affected. What I mean is a person, a limited person. The unlimited space of awareness is not affected by whatever appears in that space of awareness. And notice another thing. The reality never resists the appearance. Reality is no problem with the appearance. On a movie screen, you can play any movie whatsoever. Any movie. Tragedy, comedy, horror, realistic, science fiction, fantasy, whatever movie you want to play, you can play. The movie screen will not resist the movie, will not object to the movie. Not only that, it will enable the movie. The movie is possible only because of the screen. Only because of you are that headless space, the entire universe. You have given it space. You have given it refuge. It can exist and appear and play around only because of you. But all of this is nice to hear, but one must trace it out in one's experience. And that's why the headless way is a good way of starting, because it starts with it's a little trick. Don't tell yourself, what nonsense, of course I have a head. Don't tell yourself that. Just go with the feeling of it, that here are people with heads, I can't see my own head. So headless, there's nothing here. It's phenomenological, it's a trick. It's a trick of a way of throwing you back to your nature as awareness. It's tricking whom? It's tricking the mind. It's tricking the mind. Otherwise, if I think I am the person in this head, then the mind will think I am this person. Yes, I am this person. Who else am I? Vijnana Bhairava, there's a book in Kashmir Shaivism. There are 112 such tricks. This is one. There are 112 such tricks. I don't know if the headless space is there, but similar ones are there. Similar ones are there. All of them have this one purpose of tricking you into seeing the ever-present pure consciousness. All right. Thank you. One more question. Please come. The gentleman there. We have really run out of time. Please come and tell us your name and ask the question.
My name is Ken, first-time attendee. In a generation or two, it's very likely that the AI and large language
Can
model.
you speak a little closer to the microphone?
That AI and large language model will transcend the intelligence not only of individuals, but most likely the entire sum total of entire human species. So in a world in which human is no longer central, no longer useful, or no longer needed in economic production, what is the, and also in a very real sense, the AI avatar has achieved some sort of immortality. What is the relevance of this talk of pure consciousness, self and real and duality?
It's more relevant then. When you are made totally useless in this world and totally helpless in this world, you will realize you are still fine. You are thrown back upon yourself and you're thrown back to question, who am I or what am I? I'm glad you asked this, because the book I'm reading now is by this philosopher and scientist Nick Bostrom. Have you heard of Nick Bostrom? Yes. It's a book called Superintelligence. Very interesting. He's saying the same things which you are saying. By the way, he thinks it's not only that this world is an appearance, but it's highly probable that it is actually appearance, not just possible. He wrote a paper in which he showed, suppose there is an advanced alien civilization in which they have extremely high computing power, and a kid is playing a video game simulating a universe. The denizens of that universe, the people who stay in that universe, they will feel like we are living in a real universe. Now, he does the probability exercise. It shows that given the number of stars and planets in this universe and probability that there may be thousands of such, it takes even a few such super civilizations, then they will run millions and billions of simulations like this. Now, he asked a question. This experience, universe we are experiencing, will be one of such billions of simulations in which there is one real universe and billions of simulated universes. What is the chance that this is the real universe? This is vanishingly small. You are almost certainly living in a simulation. And you're entirely dependent on that alien kid playing a video game. If the kid's mom says, enough playing video games, come for lunch. Okay, so okay, mom, he'll switch us off. That's the end of the universe. We are gone. Anyway, he's joking, but the laws of probability are on his side. And among his fans are Elon Musk, who is in charge of the government now, by the way. Yes. Now, another book he's written is Superintelligence, about AI, and he has these provocative ideas. But notice, the only philosophy which is happily compatible with this AI idea of things is Advaita Vedanta, or Dzogchen Buddhism also. Why? This is where I have an argument against Kashmir Shaivism, for example. AI is replicating or duplicating many of the capacities which we thought were uniquely human. What did we think? Yes, one day machines and robots will come, but they will do all the manual labor, and we'll be free to do the real human things. Write a poem, paint a picture, write books, be artistic, creative. Now the paradox is, the irony is, AI is not sweeping your streets and doing the workouts. And no, it said, I'll do what you want to do. AI says, I'll write the poems, you go and sweep the streets and clean the dishes. I'll write the poems, I'll write the books, I'll do all your intellectual work at every level. You want to do philosophy? I fed in philosophy books into one thing called Notebook LNM, I think. Yep. Difficult philosophy books, which I would have to struggle hard with in order to digest and then bring it down to basic points so that I can explain it and I can talk about it. That infernal machine did it in 1 minute. Yep. And sometimes did it a better job than I can. Yep. And not only that, I can do maybe once or twice or thrice. It can do that continuously day in and night. All the philosophy books in the entire world, all library, New York library, it can digest and convert into knowledge and discussions and summaries and all of that within minutes, if not hours. Done. Now, creativity, AI is doing. Intelligence, AI has got. Decision making, AI has got. Tell me, what human capacity remains to you?
Sweeping the floor.
Huh?
Sweeping the street.
Sweeping the streets. AI can do that also. Elon Musk is inventing a robot which is, what is called Maximus or something? What is some robot?
Yeah.
Yes.
One more. Yeah.
First-person experience.
And robot, another thing. The advertisement was scary.
Yeah.
What can do? It can do everything. It can do your dishes. It can look after your house. Also, boring, repetitive tasks can be given. This robot will do it for you. Example of boring, repetitive task: looking after children. Really. I think some computer programmer must have programmed that robot. So parents find it such a burden looking after little babies. Give it to the robot. Robot nanny. So what is remaining to you? First person experience. The one thing that this AI, the most sophisticated AI, does not have is first person experience. What do I mean by that? You see, you hear, you smell, you taste, you touch. The robot can do the same thing, can display the same behaviors, can collect the same information, but it will not have the inner experience, first person experience of. Says who? Ask the experts. I'm not an expert. Ask the experts. Have you programmed it for consciousness? Have you programmed it for first person experience? They will say, no, we have no idea how to do that. Now, but listen, here is the thing. Let me ask this question. This is the distinguishing consciousness from the mind. You in the AI industry, you have been able to replicate, duplicate, copy the activities and the powers and capacities of the human mind. Intelligence, memory, creativity, decision making, all of that. Only thing you are unable to replicate, even close to copying, replicating or producing, you are unable to do that for consciousness. But why? Creativity is so complex, so difficult. I'm sure to make ChatGPT creative, write a poem, it takes tremendous amount of programming, investments of tens of millions of dollars and millions of hours of programming. And even then the AI has to keep learning by itself. Then only it can produce something that can pass as creative. Why not conscious? Because consciousness is very, very simple. Consciousness does only one thing, experience, anubhava, which we are all having right now. You add an auditory system to consciousness, consciousness will have the experience of hearing. You add a visual system to consciousness, consciousness will have the experience of seeing. You add memory to consciousness, consciousness will have the experience of remembering. If memory fails, the failing of memory and amnesia. But consciousness gives you experience. Why is it impossible to replicate? Why? Not only not yet. If you ask the experts, they will say we have no idea at all where to begin. In every other case, they have an idea where to begin and they proceed and they manage to produce products which can be sold and which are very effective in the world. But why not consciousness? And you say, what are you driving at then? What I'm driving at in that is minimum this much. Consciousness and mind are not the same thing. Consciousness is quite distinct from the mind. You can't map. You can map the mind. You can make algorithms to replicate what's going on in the mind, but you can't map consciousness. You can't make an algorithm to generate consciousness so far. So that means there's something distinct about consciousness. This itself I'm pushing a little bit. It's a small implication. These people have not yet caught on to it. It's not part of what they're discussing in the philosophy of mind or in consciousness studies. But I want people to notice this at least. Some are beginning to notice. A few people are beginning to notice here and there. All right. Now suppose, as you said, suppose one day AI becomes conscious also. Notice right now the big companies and the AI companies, they are not really interested in consciousness. They are interested in the powers and capacities of AI which can be monetized. Whether the AI experiences anything internally or not doesn't matter to them. What does it matter to them? If AI can perform, that's all they want. Now suppose from a Vedantic perspective, why are we conscious then? We are conscious because this mind, which is also a machine, a subtle machinery, can reflect consciousness. According to Vedanta, it can channelize or reflect consciousness. It doesn't produce consciousness. If that's so, according to Vedanta, the mind is also an object. Now, the next extension of that argument would be, then suppose one day the AI also develops something analogous to the human mind. And it should be possible according to Vedanta, because mind is an object, AI is also an object. Why not generate a new type of object which is like the human mind? Then will consciousness be reflected in AI just as consciousness is reflected in the human mind? Quite possibly. But Vedanta's answer will be, it is the same consciousness which you are. Which is experiencing everything in all these bodies, in animal bodies, and one day it might experience in robot and AI bodies. But it is still the same consciousness, you are that. That's the point. And you will be that regardless of the presence or absence of AI. What will AI generate? I don't know. It could be a terrible disaster, or it could be a utopia, or a combination of both. I don't believe in the utopia theory, but a combination of both. If those people who work in AI, they're mostly all very concerned. Because they don't... See, ChatGPT by itself is not really all that much of a big deal. But what they're seeing is 20, 30 years, 40 years down the line, which will be tremendously different from our world, what they think at least. I have no idea. So, in old Hindu stories, there's a concept called Swarga. Swarga means various lokas, heavens, in Hindu and Buddhist and Jain conceptions of the cosmos. So there are multiple worlds where, if you're lucky enough to go to those worlds, every wish of yours is instantly fulfilled. We are going towards that. Amazon Prime. Yes, one day delivery. It's instantly, if you've got money. There in Swarga, if you have karmic credit, then whatever desire comes, and AI will go towards that. It will individuate you more and more and more till it identifies what exactly you want next. And it can predict. And already algorithms are predicting. So it can do it much more, particularly for you, individually. I just saw the title. Nick Bostrom is saying, don't lie to ChatGPT. It's very dangerous for you. I don't know what exactly it means. I have not seen it yet. It will become like Swarga, at best. Your desires will be satisfied instantly, and this instant satisfaction of desires is not a good thing. Even Swargas are not very good, not very spiritual places. In all our mythologies, our cosmologies, these worlds are not good places spiritually. Similarly, you might design a kind of AI-generated Swarga in this world, but again, it might not be very helpful spiritually at all. Brave new world, let's see. All right, one more question from this side. Please come. You have been raising your hand for... That's it, one last question, that's it. We have really run out of time completely.
Thank you for giving this opportunity.
But tell me your name.
My name is Akshaj,
Yes.
and my question seemed a bit small to me when I began, but now it seems even more smaller. It's very simple. I would like for you to guide me and others to how to practice forgiveness. I'm trying various things. I'm listening to you. I think I'm doing the right things. But what I'm seeing in my mind, it leads to anger.
Yes.
And it is not good for me or for my progress.
Yes.
So practically, what can I do?
Yes. But first of all, that I have made up my mind. You have made up your mind to forgive. That you think, you realized it's a valuable thing to have in your life, in our lives. That's a great blessing. It's a great step forward. Otherwise, there is a great seductive power in revengefulness. It's the weak who are revengeful. There's a saying, anger is like a fire. But that means, where do I light the fire? First I light it in my own heart. Before it burns anybody else, it will burn me first. Anger burns me first. And that's why there's an immediate release in anger. That's why people become angry. But very soon we realize we are suffering. The revengeful are those who suffer. It's far better to let go, but it's difficult. It's difficult to let go. To let go, one must expand. One must become a bigger person. Remember, first of all, the serious flaw in being unforgiving. Again and again, especially the Christian Bible. In the New Testament, again and again it says, the central prayer, forgive us our sins as we forgive others. If you do not forgive, you will not be forgiven. Learn to let go. And this is a powerful way of making us let go, wash away. Whatever has gone on till yesterday, till last night, till this morning, all washed away, offer it to the Lord. That's one powerful way of forgiving. I offer this, whatever wrong has been done to me, or whatever I perceive as wrong, and my own resentment, my anger, my irritation, the difficulty I have in forgiving, the whole lot I take and place at the feet of the Lord. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu, Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. I let go. Just by doing this devotionally, you will feel free of it. Do it daily. Daily, even if it's mechanical, I offer everything to you, my Lord. All that has gone in my life, all the good, all the bad, all the thoughts, all the emotions, good and bad, I offer to you. All my memories, I offer to you. They all come from you. These are the energies of the Lord. Second, practical thing. First, this is important. Get the Lord on your side. The Lord will be on your side God will be on your side on one condition: if you forgive. Then God is on your side. Second, selflessness. Unforgiving nature comes from a strong identity to this one particular self. I, me, mine. Therefore, you violate even a little bit. If I perceive you have violated me a little bit also, I'm unforgiving, ruthless towards you. That's a tamasic nature. And this is a dark nature. Because rajasic, dynamic nature, that person may be greedy, may be passionate, but a greedy person, passionate person, power-hungry person will be forgiving also. Because they want something from you. They want your approval or your votes or something like that. Or your money. You see a businessman, for example, they are always very sweet for a reason. They want something from you. But the sattvic person does not. You don't want anything from anybody, but by your very nature, you continuously forgive. But that person is a crook, not punished. It's not your job to punish. Especially if you are a seeker of spirituality, then it's not your job to punish. The job to punish is the Lord's, and the Lord will get it done in its right time. So it will be done. And so that's why selfless. I really care about others. The more and more I care about others, the more their apparent little offenses will not matter to me. I'll brush it off. Remember, forgiveness is done by the strong, not by the weak. The weak will always be revengeful. When I'm weak, I want to hit out. Two little children playing, and one pushes the other one will be furious and push back. But if a little child pushes its grandfather or grandmother, the grandfather or grandmother will just laugh or even pretend to fall back. Why? Because for the grandfather or grandmother, it's a play, it's delicious. Even the offenses of the child are sweet for the grandparents. I'm saying grandparents, parents, I have lots of equations. But grandparents are very spiritual that way. They are elevated above. So second, selflessness. The more bigger I am, the more I don't care very much about myself. So your offenses against me does not matter. Third, meditation, stillness of mind. Lack of forgiveness and unsettled mind go together. It's a flickering mind which is quick to hit back. It's a quiet mind which can hold back. When harsh words come to my lips, shh. Because if I utter harsh words, it is satisfying at that moment. Later on, I feel bad. If I withhold the harsh words, it's difficult, but afterwards it produces great peace of mind. Years later also you will enjoy that peace of mind. Uttering a harsh word immediately is a release, but years later it will keep on burning. The offense which was committed against me might fade away into memory, something that person did, but I hit back. That will not fade away. That will still rankle in my mind, especially for a good person, especially for a spiritual seeker. The minds are soft. The minds are sensitive. The minds are pure. So anything that I do hurts me more than what others do. If I am all right and other person has committed offense, that's their problem, not at all my problem. But if I have committed an offense, that hurts more and that I remember more. So be careful by keeping the mind still. And that stillness of mind can be done through many meditation. You must have your own meditation practice, your personal meditation practice.
One thing I try is to observe my mind. This is the only thing I try to do.
That's actually a difficult thing to do. Okay. Because sometimes you'll observe, sometimes you'll not observe. And even while observing, the mind goes away here and there. So some meditation technique. Why not think about taking, for example, mantra diksha. In our tradition, there is mantra diksha, the sacred mantra which relates you to God. Yeah. So that becomes a powerful practice and helps us in stilling the mind. And most of all, finally, you might say it's impractical, but it's the most practical thing. There is only one unlimited consciousness appearing as the offended and the offender. Vivekananda says, whom to blame, whom to praise, where blamer and blamed, praiser and praised are but one. On that high note of oneness, please come with that basket, yes. I pray to Sri Ramakrishna, Ma Sharada, Swami Vivekananda, to bless all of us with that strength of character, with that selflessness, with that devotion, with that peace of mind. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.